Hello, welcome back to my channel. It's been a while since I've posted. It's been really crazy couple of months. As you see, I am going to be doing a video for the end of the year and review 2025. But this video, that's not the point. The point of this video is to show you my new project for next year, which I'm going to introduce in a little. And what I'm going to be doing is something which I've named Project Gametree. And essentially the goal of this is to solve the game tree in as many spots as possible. When I say solve the game tree, obviously I don't mean solve every flop. I mean solve a variety of flop. I've got about 30 flops here. If you were to like zoom in a little bit, you would see a bit better. But there's different varieties of flops. They kind of represent on average the different types of boards that we get. So you've got like these low dry boards, you've got these like ace paired boards, you've got these wheel boards, you've got these, connected Broadway boards, all kinds of different boards here. These dry king high boards, dry ace high boards, you've got mono boards that are connected, all kinds of different boards. And we want to solve the game tree. Now I've got a little notepad here talking about why I'm doing it. I feel like this year it's been a very disappointing year in terms of results. There's stuff that happened off the table which didn't make it easy, but generally I think the biggest problem has been bankroll has been probably the biggest problem. And then the second one has just been like, I feel like a lack of technical study and like improving, because I feel like the games they get harder every year for various reasons. And I feel like my technical game has suffered a little bit. I've still been going through strategies that kind of worked really well probably 3-4 years ago. I haven't adapted my game a huge amount. I have adapted it, but not a huge amount. So I really want to like improve my technical study of the game. Understanding how and why in GTO is like one of the sort of reasons, what deviations we can take. This is generally the pillar of any strategy online these days, and how and when to be more balanced. And I actually found this quite useful in the time I've been doing this the last couple of weeks or so. And yeah, kind of a purpose, the reason why I'm making a video about it is because I kind of want to show people that it can be done for free. I'm not doing it for free because I'm using GTO Wizard. The Elite subscription, I'm going to be using Snap MDA, which I still have a referral code to. It's a very useful tool. You can, if you do use Snap MDA, please put code Hilldrift in your affiliate link. The reason I'm doing this as well, I really kind of want to step my game up towards the Cash Game Championship on Coin Poker in the summer of 2026. Now, there's no guarantees I can play it because I will be moving to the United States at some point next year. I'm not sure when. It's really dependent on like getting the visa application in. However, I really want to play the Cash Game Championship. Last year it was in June, and that was really bad timing for me last year. I got to play the last couple of weeks. So if it's in June again, we're hoping to play the whole thing, but I'm not really sure. I will kind of plan around it because I really want to play and try to like win it. Basically, it's like got to be a goal of mine for the next year, and that's going to start with this project right now, this technical study project, which I'm going to be doing. So there's this thing. This is a spreadsheet. I've made it really big so you can't like read it and copy it easily. I'm sorry about that, but this is basically a spreadsheet that goes through my entire strategy in the game. It's really difficult to understand for people. I am actually, a lot of these strategies are a little bit outdated. I'm actually probably gonna like just finish touching it up a little bit, and I probably will just start like selling this to people. It literally I just walk through like the game tree and like a bunch of spots, like a basic strategy, which I think honestly, if you just play like on 25 and now or 10 and now, and you like learn some basic concepts, it'll probably help you climb the stakes. But it's a little bit outdated in reality, but it is something I spend a lot of time working on. So I might start just like giving it, selling it to people. If you're interested, just leave a comment. I might like set a price, see what people are willing to pay. But yeah, well, I'm trying to make a new sheet here. I'm going to show you guys a template that I'm going to use. So this is essentially It's going to be like a little annoying to sort of navigate. But this is essentially how it's going to work. Is it's going to be kind of more of a flow chart, a little bit more presentable. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in the board, I'm going to put in the flop strategy, whether we split range bet or whether we split checks. Now, I've always been a range better, but that's not the best way to make money necessarily, especially in modern poker. However, some boards, range betting is the best thing to do. This is actually not a board where range betting is the best thing to do. So we will have to split check or bet. We're going to pick one size, and then we go down the bet node. It goes into a bunch of turns here. These are different types of turns that you're going to get on the flop. I'm going to work through them in both the check and bet node, and then as you go through the turn here, you're going to get different river types. So on a brick turn, you're going to get this river. I've done some work on the single raise pot, imposition versus cutoff versus button. I've started working through. I've done bet 30 with range. I don't think that's like actually because I couldn't be bothered to like work out how I want to split the strategy. And also part of the point of the video was to the point of this video is to show people how you can do this for free. And if I was a player playing on the micro stakes and I wasn't going to pay like $1,500 a year to get a GTO Wizard AI subscription and like $1,000 a year to buy like Snap MDA subscriptions, it's actually cheaper than that. You can look at it on the website. You know, that's like $2,500. That's not a lot of money for a professional, but if you're like trying to work your way up, it's quite a lot of money to commit. So I understand. So this is basically how you can do it for free, and I'm just gonna work through a main tool, which is a completely free GTO Wizard subscription. This one is a free one. I have a paid subscription, but this one's free, and you get on the free version you get one post-flop study spot, and you can produce 10 hands a day in practice mode. So I guess if you like to do drilling, that can be good. You can analyze 5 hands a month. I'm not quite sure what that means. I think it's the analyze. I don't really use it, but yeah, what I'm going to be doing is the post flop spot. I probably will just work through like what I have been doing. So I would guess because I was going to start today. I was thinking of starting a new spot. So I was thinking of starting to solve the same board 5-3-3 rainbow, but from 3-bet out of position pre-flop razor. I've picked cutoff versus big blind because that's kind of, if you look at MDA, you'll see that that's probably the spot where on average the pool plays the most balanced. From early position, people tend to under bluff a little bit, and from later position, people tend to over bluff a little bit. So cutoff versus big blind is kind of as close as you're going to get. It's obviously nowhere near. It's going to be as close as you can get. And yeah, we're just going to work into the technical side. But I think I'm going to just go for the single raise pot and just sort of explain why I've picked stuff. So you can't, on the free version, you don't have custom solutions. You have very limited amounts. But you can do this for free. Like you can go to pre-flop only and you can grab some pre-flop ranges, 100 BB, NL25. If you play NL10, I wouldn't recommend playing NL5 or 2 unless you like literally are from a country where $100 is like a lot of money, like a big part of your like net, because like you don't really need a big bankroll to play NL10 or NL25. I wouldn't bother with NL5 or NL2 if you're like a newer player. They're just too low stakes. The rake is way too high. If you want to start playing poker, you just have a few $100. Try play NL10, NL25. If you go busto, save again, try again next month until it sticks and work hard on your game. But yeah, this is how I would do it. I would go into I would use NL25 pre-flop 100. I would just use general. Now simple, I would use 2.5x. Simple doesn't allow for flats. So if you click on button here, it's going to give you a flat in range, which is people do flat, like in spots, especially fish. So yeah, and then I would just work through the ranges. I would use these pre-flop ranges, simplify them, Okay, so that was weird. I had a smoke alarm apparently go off, but nothing. There was no smoke, so make of that what you will. But yeah, as I was saying, we're going to set up the spot that I was studying. It's 533 rainbow. Now, as I remember saying, if you're doing this in the free version, you're going to get one solve per day. And I've done it in BB versus button. So you see I've already made the mistake. It's not going to let me do another version here. See? I fucked it up. Excellent. Okay, so I've come back and I decided just to log into my Elite subscription account. So here I can just node lock and work through the turns and do it properly. But yeah, GTO Wizard is the main tool you will use. I actually think it's kind of funny that the point was to show you how to do it for free, and then I misdid the spot. I made it button versus big blind, not cutoff versus big blind. But there you go. This does happen. If this happens to you and you have a free subscription, you are not going to be able to solve it again until the next day. So just bear that in mind. But yeah, this is how I am personally doing it, and you can see the game tree here. I'm going to now show you how I fill in the spreadsheet. And yeah, I put B30 with range. You'll see in reality here it's actually split. But I was also doing it on the free version. I would have probably recommended you B30 with range. Now, the one thing you will say is like, there's every type of hand is in the bet range. You will not see a single hand that like pure checks. I think the closest you're going to come is, I guess, A7 and A6 of clubs, but even that's 2% bet. So yeah, you can at least be safe in the knowledge of knowing that is a thing that happens. And yeah, if we work through here, we've got the turns, and we're going to look through there's different types of turns. I've been working through them. I haven't done a flush close turn on 533 rainbow. Necessarily, I could do it. I don't think it's necessary because I have enough different types of flush draw boiled. And then there's different strategies. So this one was the 4, the straight close turn. And then you can see the AI pick 67. In the free version, you're going to get given 3 or 4 sizes, or maybe 5 sizes, and you're going to pick the size. Basically, you can actually make it any size you want, but you have to understand what the purpose of the size is. So if we're using 70, why it uses 70, obviously we have a split bet strategy. So the BB EV is already 53%. In equity and 47% for the imposition. You look at the nuts. You see on the graph on the right here shows you what the nuts are, which is going to be 7, 6 on this board, or like obviously quad threes, things like this. 4-3 suited, these kind of hands, and we sort of look at the distribution. You know, how many strong hands does the imposition player have here? You can see it's quite even at the top, but the big blind has a slight advantage here with trips and like straights and stuff. So like at the top, there's like a sort of like the top 5-10% of range. The big blind is stronger, so this is called the nut advantage. And then you can see it sort of drops off towards the 90 to 50 percentile. Is like slightly more advantageous to the cuff, which we can see here is like these hands like 2 pair or over pairs like 8s. Obviously a hand like 8s is beaten a hand like 5 or suited. All these kind of hands are in there. And then there's this bottom 50 percentile. You can see the BB, this is very typical, the BB will have like hands that do okay, like ace 9 is doing fine. It's like pretty good showing value compared to, say, the colour that has like jack 9 of spades here, which is obviously can make a flush, but like it's not as good as ace 9. So like you can see the equities for the BB in the lower part of range, the bottom 50% run higher, and that's because, and if you start range belling, this is going to be especially even more compounded. The BB equity is going to just be like even higher. It's going to be like 55, 56, 57%, and the imposition equity is going to be even lower. And it will just compound this effect around this palette range. And this is why you end up with a 70% sizing, because it's kind of a size where you don't really want to overbet because the big blind has more super strong hands in their range, but you definitely have this portion of range, the 50 to 90% of hands that want a value bet. And you're seeing them here, like jacks, tens, jacks, queens, these kind of hands that BB just doesn't have. Here, and like there's also another purpose to the sizing, is like what size kind of makes part of range different. Now, if you started betting this is the great thing about the like AI sub that you don't get for free, but I might as well show you. If you start betting, I don't know, 125%, right? The solver will have a small part of range that it will want to go to 125%. But if we're just going to pick one size in, 0.8%, okay, basically nothing. But if you start betting this specific sizing, it really just actually makes the other position player is forced to just like, it's not really forced to defend ace high, as you can see. It is like calling some of the ace highs. But like if you use 67, this is like the best size to just make ace high indifferent. It like doesn't really change a whole lot. It just makes ace high. But you see like this is going to be different on other turns. So if I took the 8 turn, this is not completing a straight. You can see cutoff is going for 100, and you see the distribution of range much more towards the top of the range. It's very, very equal. The equities actually run close. Now the BB actually has less equity than the cutoff, and like very, very equal towards the top of the range. You've had slightly advantage with the cutoff, and then the middle part of the range does really well, and the bottom part of the range isn't doing as badly. It's still doing worse because this is what happens. And yeah, like this is going to be 100% is going to be the solver's preferred size, because now this ace high region is like still not really what you're trying to capture value from with this sizing. You just have more hands on a value bet. You want to bet more of these overpays. You want to bet every 8 on the turn. So that's sort of like a technical difference between the two spots here. And yeah, we reflect that with our template here. We write in the sizes, and then we write in our value region. You can see here, you have to excuse me, you can see here with the brick turn, we're using 100, we go in and finish 7 to queen 5 suited. Now, this might not reflect in your own study because I have node locked ranges, but also you can just pick. So queen 5 suited is a really useful hand to have in your range, because if you get raised on the turn, it's actually a really good blocker hand to bluffs, to a value, which is part of why it's kind of like designed to be in strategy. And you can kind of use it as bluffs in like creative ways that you wouldn't normally expect to see your hand bluff. But it's kind of more in there as a bluff catcher. But it can also get value if you bet 100. You are getting called by worse hands, but you can get value from like 7-6. These kind of hands are flush draws, not flush draws. Ace deuce, ace 4, these are straight draws. Ace queen, these are hands that are getting value. Now, the great thing about studying the technical study is when you realize that your opponents aren't doing things. So if you bet 100 and your opponent's pure folding every ace high, and then they're only defending like ace 8, king 8, and like, they didn't have queen 8 because they check raise the flop queen 8 or something stupid, don't they? Or they just fold it, and they're pure. So just pure folding ace high, and apart from like nut flush draw, like ace queen, and maybe you're just better off just like only bluffing. But you could filter out the value region, like, yeah. But the thing is also like you can filter the bluff in range out. You can see even ace king is value betting, because ace king can get value and even make worse fold. These are like the infamous mergers. So ace king of clubs could get value from like worse ace highs and king highs. But it also makes pocket deuces fold, very specifically pocket deuces. So that's kind of a cool little thing that you will see in the solver when the more technical study you do. But like this is a thing where we can learn about balance. So like we obviously have we filtered in our ace highs, our king highs, and our no made hands, and you can see ace high largely checks. You can see it down here. It's betting ace king as a merge. It's betting like ace four, ace deuce of spades. So like these are the only, and some not flush draws, ace seven, ace eight, ace nine. So it's very specific hands of bluffing. So if we just filtered out, if we just went king high and no made hands, you can kind of like see the pattern of like what actually is bluffs and what frequencies. You can see certain things like queen seven of spades actually don't even bluff the turn, because, well, blockers. Because when you bet something like queen seven, you don't really get called by worse that often. These are hands like things like 9-7. These hands just in your range, like queen high flush draws. You're going to get called by king high flush draws, ace high flush draws, and you're going to get called by 8, and then you're blocking some of the folds. So it's like kind of a bad. It's not like a bluff, but like a way of simplifying this is to just like, let's filter out the flush draw. So let's exclude the suited spade hand, and this is what I call the trash region or the overcard region. Other than 7-6, which is specifically open-ender, you can see that like roughly 65% of the hands, 2/3 of the hands are bluffing. The solver's going to pick by blockers. Now you could put some effort into memorizing these. I personally wouldn't, because the ranges get so warped after a certain time that they become less relevant. Like the other thing that's also good is if you understand MDA, you could also realize that there's a line called the bet check bet line. So instead of going bet on the turn, we go check, and then we'll just click a random river like a queen, and then they come into the river, they check to us, and then these hands here, every single hand apart from specifically king jack, which is mixing, every single hand is bluffing in this line, in the bet check bet line, which is where you make the EV up from checking these hands. So like these hands don't really like. So you could bet these hands on the turn, but you could also check them. The only problem with that is also the BB strategy. If we clear here, for example, the BB is like supposed to like check a predominant amount of ace highs, and then we're supposed to bet a lot on the cutoff, and then we're supposed to like, then his ace highs are meant to be indifferent in the bet check bet line. Even on, say, this queen river. But what this essentially means is that if you have opponents that just like massively, their range just filters in this bet check bet line into ace high, you're better off just like not bluffing queen 9, and just going into bet check bet line. Obviously the queen river would give you top pair, but like if it was any other random river. But if you have opponents that like do defend ace high on the river, but will possibly just overfold the turn with ace high, then you kind of got like a different sort of thing going on, and maybe it's better. So like if we're trying to learn balanced play, we're going to be looking at like mixing these in 80%, 75%, whatever, you know. I think like learning this kind of technical play really improves you as a player, because like if you're thinking about a player specifically, and you'd be like, this guy really just like never calls the river in bet check bet with ace high. I've just never seen him call unless he has like a pair. Because you see on this river like a value threshold like 5x is supposed to block on the queen, but like if you've got people who don't block these 5s but check all the 5s, they have more 5s in their range. But if you have people who like, if they fold the ace high and they replace it with the 5s, not really, it doesn't really change that much, but you do get people who just don't even value bet a 5 here. Even if the river's not a queen, I've literally seen people like not value bet, like come these like low boards that are like quite dry, like could just make the river a 9 or something. I've seen people here, like you can see if the solver's using 70%, they're supposed to value bet a 5, pocket 4s for 67%, because a lot of my range is ace high, king high here. And they're supposed to like get called by ace high sometimes, but a lot of people don't even bet these hands for value. They just like they bet second pair or like an 8 or like pocket 7s, and they don't even bet like the pocket 4s or the the 8-5 suits. Well, that's a 2 bet, but like 7-5 suits, for example, they just check them. So like when you start to spot patterns like that in plays, you can kind of realize what the best play is for certain parts of your range. Yeah, I think that's like kind of like the cusp of like the technical study, like why we decide a strategy. And then we go into different rivers. We've got the bricks, our value threshold, 150% flush close river, 70% over cars. We have different sizes. I'm not going to go into too much detail. We have different sizes, different value thresholds. You've got like, and then you can kind of repeat this through a bunch of different turns, and you really start to like learn a lot about the game technically. And the great thing about this is like once you've kind of like started and you've picked a size in or a split, how you want to split your strategy, you can kind of you can just work on like 1 or 2 turns a day, like half an hour. You can just work through like a couple of different spots, and within like a few months you're going to learn a lot. Yeah, and that's essentially the whole project. I got the template here. I'm probably going to work on 3-bet bots a little bit, work through a bunch of different turns and rivers. The software I'm using is OpenOffice, by the way. If you're going to do it for free, OpenOffice is the one. But honestly, Microsoft Office is better. Unless you have Linux, then good luck with you. I have no idea what you use on Linux. We're going to carry on through, and then we're going to work through all of these textures. We're going to try and like focus on mainly these 3 spots. Now things like allo position pre-flop raiser, allo position pre-flop caller, these kind of spots I do, and 4-bet pots. I do like study the strategies quite a lot, and you can do the same thing where you react to different sizes and have a strategy. But I've kind of done that anyway. I feel kind of okay in those spots. I really want to like work on these lines where I'm the aggressor pre-flop, because I think these are the lines where you kind of have the most flexibility in your game plan. Whereas a lot of the allo position pre-flop caller strategies, you're kind of reacting to your opponent. So like if your opponent uses 70%, and some opponents just use 30%, some opponents split their range, some opponents range bet. So it becomes a little bit more. I mean, you want to prep for different sizes, but you can kind of do that without doing this deep study. Whereas I want, as a pre-flop raiser, you kind of have more options on like how you do things. Really, because some of these boards are going to be like you're playing versus a donk as well, and they're going to be like more interesting. Yeah, let me know anyway what you guys think of the project, and yeah, I'm going to be returning with a recap of my year and my last couple of months and my results. Okay, bye.